global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
Hello, you're watching Race to Power. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Donald Trump, the American president, has issued a fresh threat against Iran, saying that the US will hit Iran very hard and take the Karg Island soon. Now, this latest warning comes amid concerns that the tit-for-tat attacks this week has reignited the war, despite what has now become a permanent fragile ceasefire. We'll get you more on this. We also tell you how Belfast remains on an edge as the police used water cannon to disperse large crowds of people who had gathered once again to protest against immigrants. People threw objects and bricks at the police, even as the family of the knife attack victim, Stephen Ogilvie, called for peaceful protests. We're getting you all the details on this. But first, let's talk about what has been happening between Iran and America. And we're getting you this update that is coming in at the moment. The Iran war theater is heating up. Remember, the US President Donald Trump has warned that he would be attacking Iran tonight. This comes after the two nations exchanged heavy fire over the past 2 days. Donald Trump has announced imminent strikes on Iran via a post on Truth Social. He's also said that the US will be taking over the Karg Island at some point and assume total control of Iran's oil. In a series of statements after this, Donald Trump has doubled down on his threat, and he said that the bombing tonight will be bigger and more powerful. He's also said that the US will take over main Iranian oil terminals, contradicting his earlier threat. Remember, Trump had said that the US would rather not launch attacks on Iran's civilian infrastructure, including bridges and power plants. Now, in the latest attacks that took place in the intervening night of 10th and 11th of June, explosions were reported at multiple locations in southern Iran. In fact, American forces claim to have hit Iran's communication systems, surveillance capabilities, as well as air defenses. CENTCOM has said that the strikes were in response to Iran's aggression on the Strait of Hormuz. This was the largest exchange of strikes since the beginning of the ceasefire on the 8th of April. However, US military action and the Iranian response display a different pattern. One of the most significant differences is that Israel has not participated in these latest strikes so far. Remember, a few days back, Donald Trump himself had asked Benjamin Netanyahu not to attack Iran after Iran had launched missiles at Israel in retaliation for the attack on Beirut. In its retaliation to the American attacks, remember, Iran had attacked US military sites in Jordan, Bahrain, as well as in Kuwait. This is in contrast to its previous retaliation when it attacked other West Asian countries such as Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Now, in Iran's axis of resistance, the Houthis are increasingly taking center stage. The Yemen-based group has vowed strong retaliation if the attacks on Iran continue. Remember, during the 40-day war, it was Hezbollah that had played a significant role in Iran's asymmetric warfare strategy. How the Iranian response unfolds to future American attacks remains to be seen. Iran's foreign ministry issued a statement saying that the latest US attacks have rendered the ceasefire practically meaningless. Now, as things stand, both sides are moving away from talks and returning to the battlefield. All right, let me welcome my guests on the broadcast. I'm joined by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis. He's a military expert and host of the Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. He joins us live from Sterling, US. Colonel Davis, thanks very much for speaking with us on WION. Can I start by understanding how you're seeing these latest threats? Is it strategy? Is it a genuine threat? Are we looking at a much bigger escalation and a reigniting of the violence and bloodshed once again in the next few hours?
Well, it certainly looks that way. I mean, this would be the third consecutive day that the United States has launched attacks into Iran, and whatever words are being used, clearly the ceasefire is no longer in effect. As we're effectively back at full-scale war, at least in the air. But now we see with President Trump's Truth Social this morning that he's now planning to take Karg Island and possibly some other targets too, and wants to seize the Iranian oil like he did with Venezuela, he wrote. And that can only be received on the Iranian side as an outright, absolute existential threat, that President Trump doesn't just want a nuclear deal, he wants to seize their oil. Anyone would receive it that way. So that will, unfortunately, that will steal the resolve of the Iranian side and make it almost impossible for them to have any kind of submission or compulsion. They're not going to do like the Venezuelans did, which they made a deal with Trump and decided to go ahead and allow him to have the oil in exchange for letting them stay in office. The Iranians are not like that. Their culture, their religion, their history, those people are very, very different than what was in the other place. And plus, they have the capacity to resist, as they have been demonstrating. So, unfortunately, it looks like we have more conflict and combat coming up, and we are further away than ever from a resolution.
Right. Colonel Davis, since you're a veteran yourself, also help me understand this. Number one, two attacks and a bigger escalation happened this way, that you put out a post on Truth Social or on social media and then you attack the country once again. And number two, Israel hasn't spoken about it yet. And this is in contrast to what Donald Trump has been asking Benjamin Netanyahu to do, to not attack Iran. Israel so far has not participated, and Donald Trump is putting out threats on his Truth Social post. Do attacks happen that way?
Well, it does in this environment. This is a bizarre situation, to say the least, because for a long period of time a lot have been in the national conversation here in the United States, and especially internally here, has been we're doing too much for the Israeli side, and that we're being dragged into a war. And now it's almost flipped on its head, and now it's like the United States is saying, you guys stand over there, hold my beer, I got this. And then he's going to go in there and tell the Israelis not to worry about it. Now, that's not to say that they're not fighting, because they do still continue to fight in both the West Bank, activities going on in Gaza, and in Lebanon. They continue to fight in Lebanon. So it's almost like there's divide and conquer. You'll take this part over here, we'll take this part over here. I don't know for sure that they have made that kind of coordination, but you can see it playing out that way on the battlefield.
Colonel Davis, Donald Trump and the officials of the Trump administration have been continuing to say that they have completely destroyed Iranian power, Iranian military prowess. But Iran, of course, continues to attack American bases across Gulf countries, of course, except the UAE and Saudi Arabia. What do you make of the Iranian firepower then? What does it say about Iranian military prowess and what Donald Trump has been claiming?
Listen, I mean, you can't take that at face value, unfortunately. It's kind of an embarrassing thing to say as an American. But look, you see our intelligence services, leaks to the press, analysis by Washington Post, CNN, Wall Street Journal. They are all unified in saying that Iran still has somewhere around 75% of its missile and drone capacity. We have demonstrated, it has been chronicled, that 30 of the 33 missile bases and underground bunker systems that they had along the Iranian coastline into the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman had been brought back to restored to fully operational status even before this current round there. So by any observation, they do still have it, and they're demonstrating it. The question is, how much more are they going to demonstrate? What else are they going to do? How far are they going to go? Who knows? But the bottom line is, and what has not changed, is that they retain control of the Strait of the Hormuz, and we still cannot get our oil and gas from our side, from the Gulf GCC countries out, and that's going to continue to cause a problem with the rest of the world's economy.
And Colonel Davis, here's the interesting part then, because like you said, that Iran has been continuing to retaliate against these attacks by America as well as Israel. The kind of warnings and the kind of rhetoric that has been coming in from the US president, would it, affect Iran at all to come to the negotiating table once and for all and make that peace deal, or it's going to harden their stance as it has in the past?
Listen, there's something we need to be crystal clear on. Iran has never not been at the table. They have always been willing to negotiate. This is not to bring them to the table because they're already at the table. What it shows is, and this is especially from a lot of the pro-war commentators in the United States, they don't want a deal unless other than the one on their definition, which is abject submission on the Iranian side. The Iranian side has said, we want a deal. We're even willing to talk about the nuclear program as a second step. What they're saying is, but we need to have some confidence building measures because you have violated the trust in the past with the 2025 and 2026 starts of these wars where you said you're in negotiations, then you attacked us. So we need to see upfront release of frozen assets, upfront release of sanctions on our oil industry, and the opening of the blockade and a stop of the war in Lebanon. So those are the things that they're saying they want. That's part of their negotiating position. So it's untrue to say this is to bring them to negotiating. What we actually are saying is we want you to come and submit and surrender to us on all of our terms. That's what is really going on here. And there's no way on God's earth that Iran is going to do that, at least not for the foreseeable future.
So quickly, before I let you go, Colonel Davis, your hunch says that the entire world should be on an alert after this latest statement by Donald Trump that the U.S. forces will be hitting Iran tonight.
Well, I mean, he said that the last two nights and he did it, so there's no reason to think he won't do it again.
All right, let's wait and see what happens in the next few hours. Colonel Davis, thanks very much for joining us at the moment and sharing your perspective.
Always my pleasure.
All right, with that, let's also tell you how Israel is reportedly preparing for one of its biggest settlement expansion plans in years in the occupied West Bank. According to reports, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet is expected to approve funding worth hundreds of millions of dollars to build and expand dozens of settlements. The move is already drawing sharp criticism from rights groups who say that it could further undermine hopes for a future Palestinian state. Israel, remember, is set to massively expand its footprint in the occupied West Bank. A report by Axios says that the Israeli cabinet could soon approve funding for the de facto establishment of 61 new settlements, making it one of the largest settlement expansion drives in decades. Many of the planned projects are reportedly located in strategically sensitive areas, including the Jordan Valley, the South Hebron Hills, and zones aimed at linking existing settlements together. Critics argue that such moves could make a future Palestinian state increasingly difficult to achieve. Now, this proposal is being pushed by far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who's a strong advocate of settlement expansion. He's repeatedly opposed the idea of a Palestinian statehood. Israeli watchdog Peace Now says that the government has already allocated 152 million shekels, which is roughly $51 million, to prepare construction plans for 69 settlements and outposts across the West Bank. The announcement, remember, comes amid growing international scrutiny. Human rights group Amnesty International has accused Israel of accelerating annexation measures in the West Bank, alleging a state-backed effort to displace Palestinians and consolidate control over the occupied territory. Israel has consistently rejected such accusations, and it says that its settlement policies are based on historical and security considerations. Shifting our focus now to India, former West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee's political party, the Trinamool Congress, seems to be disintegrating one after another. Several high-profile leaders are either deserting the party or publicly criticizing the top leadership. And the latest one to join the list of rebels is Lok Sabha MP Kalyan Banerjee. He is one of TMC's most prominent and senior voices in the lower house of the parliament, Lok Sabha. And now he's asking TMC chief Mamata Banerjee to choose between him and Abhishek Banerjee. Abhishek Banerjee, remember, is Mamata Banerjee's nephew. He's seen as her potential successor to lead the party.
I will request the Didi, if you depend upon the Abhishek Banerjee, then you remain with the Abhishek Banerjee, leave me. And if you leave Abhishek Banerjee, I am there. Who has destroyed our party itself.
Now, yet another member of Parliament's in the upper house has stepped down. Remember, the Rajya Sabha has confirmed the resignation of Prakash Sheikh Berek. He joins the list of other MPs who have resigned, including Sushmita Dev and Shukendu Shekhar Roy. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. Remember, 20 TMC parliamentarians have already opened a new front in the lower house. The rebel faction in the Lok Sabha is led by Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar. She claims the support of 20 TMC MPs, and the list reportedly includes prominent names like Shawnee Ghosh as well, and Member of Parliament from Behrampur, Yusuf Pathan. Now let's quickly get you the entire picture of the rebellion that's been happening within the TMC. 58 MLAs have joined ranks with Rita Pratap Banerjee in the State Assembly. 20 members of Parliament are reportedly willing to support the ruling alliance, and 3 MPs have already resigned from their Rajya Sabha membership. Apart from this, Kolkata Mayor Firhad Hakim and Bidhan Nagar Mayor Krishna Chakravarti have also stepped down. Amid the crisis, Mamata Banerjee and Abhishek Banerjee went to New Delhi, where they met with Congress leaders Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. And as per reports, Sonia Gandhi had offered Mamata Banerjee the option to merge the TMC with the Congress party. The rift within the Trinamool Congress is widening by the day, and clearly Mamata Banerjee's control over the party is shrinking. And our correspondent Arkadipto Mukherjee has sent us this report from Kolkata. Take a look.
The strength of TMC in Rajya Sabha is now 10. But more interestingly, Kalyan Banerjee, the other MP from TMC, has said he is stepping aside from Abhishek Banerjee's case. He is not going to contest for Abhishek Banerjee, neither him nor his son Shisharna Banerjee. They won't be contesting for Abhishek Banerjee anymore. He has said that Mamata Banerjee, Trinamool Congress Supremo, has to choose either of them, either Kalyan Banerjee or Abhishek Banerjee. If she is sticking with Abhishek Banerjee, then Kalyan Banerjee will leave. Otherwise, he has to select or choose Kalyan Banerjee and let go Abhishek Banerjee. It's not that he wants Abhishek Banerjee out of the Trinamool Congress party, but he should not hold any post or any designation as per Kalyan Banerjee. And he has directly accused Abhishek Banerjee that for him, this disaster, this massacre has happened with TMC in 2026 elections. With the camera person Amit Ghosh, this is Arkadipto Mukherjee, WION, Kolkata.
Protests continued for a second night in Northern Ireland, with crowds gathering as UK authorities accused far-right activists of fueling anger on social media following a brutal stabbing in Belfast. While the main opposition flashpoints from the previous night appeared largely calm, dozens of men clashed with the police in one area, hurling rocks and bottles and setting fire in the middle of the road. The police responded by deploying water cannons to disperse the crowd. Remember, a wave of anti-immigrant violence was triggered after a man lost an eye and suffered injuries to his face and back in a knife attack. Footage of the stabbing that showed several people intervening, one wielding a hurling stick, sparked widespread condemnation alongside anger. Numerous accounts on social media shared this footage, urging people to protest against mass immigration into their communities. Remember, a 30-year-old Sudanese man named Hadi Alodid appeared in court on Wednesday. He's been charged with attempted murder and was remanded in custody. The case was adjourned till the 8th of July. The family of the victim, Stephen Ogilvie, appealed for calm and warned against using the terrible tragedy to divide people or fuel hostilities. UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, meanwhile, has condemned the scene as shocking and completely unacceptable. Shifting our focus now, Bolivia is facing a deepening political crisis. Thousands of protesters have taken to the streets of the country's capital, demanding the resignation of President Rodrigo Paz. Weeks of disruptive protests have paralyzed large parts of Bolivia. These are the scenes from La Paz, where miners, teachers, transport workers and other demonstrators marched through the streets. They are demanding President Paz's resignation. La Paz is under the heavy deployment of armed riot police. Protesters attempted to reach the government palace in the capital's main square, but security forces moved in using tear gas to prevent them from advancing any further. The unrest is centered on President Rodrigo Paz's economic reforms. Protesters view these reforms as an attempt to sell off national assets and weaken the country's economic sovereignty. As the political standoff continues, the government is also warning of tougher measures. Earlier this week, President Paz claimed that the movement seeking his removal, the parliament has already handed him the power to declare a state of emergency. The move could restrict public gatherings and allow the military to assist police in clearing roadblocks across the country. With protesters refusing to back down, the government threatening emergency measures and essential supplies running short, Bolivia appears to be heading toward a deeper political crisis. Peru's political thriller refuses to end. The presidential election of the country is hanging by a thread, with conservative heavyweight Keiko Fujimori staging a dramatic comeback and snatching a razor-thin lead from her leftist rival Roberto Sanchez, with just a handful of votes separating the two and hundreds of thousands of ballots under review. The race is still too close to call. Peru's presidential race is turning into a nail-biter. After days of seesawing results, conservative candidate Keiko Fujimori has edged back into the lead by the slimmest of margins. With over 18 million votes counted, Fujimori holds just 50.02% of the vote, as compared to 49.98% for leftist challenger Roberto Sanchez. This is as per Peru's ONPE electoral authority. And that translates largely to a lead of barely 650 votes. The dramatic turnaround was reportedly powered largely by overseas ballots, particularly from Peruvians who are living in countries such as the United States and Japan, where Fujimori enjoys strong support. But despite the lead, victory remains far from certain at the moment. Nearly 4 lakh votes are tied up in polling stations that are flagged for judicial review, a process that could stretch on for weeks. And most of those contested ballots are from the Lima region, traditionally considered a Fujimori stronghold. The race has been neck and neck from the beginning. Exit polls initially favored Fujimori, while quick count projections briefly showed Sanchez ahead. Rural votes reportedly later helped Sanchez overtake his rival before overseas ballots swung momentum back toward Fujimori. As tensions rise, Sanchez has begun questioning parts of the counting process, citing what he called strange and unusual developments. Some of his supporters even gathered outside election authorities' office in Lima, though the police later dispersed the crowd. For Fujimori, the stakes are enormous. Remember, this is her 4th straight presidential runoff after narrowly losing 3 previous bids for the country's top job. The daughter of former President Alberto Fujimori is hoping to ride on a broader wave of support for the conservatives, tough-on-crime leaders across Latin America. But with Peru deeply divided and thousands of ballots still under scrutiny, the country may have to wait a little longer before learning who will become its next president and who will inherit the challenge of ending a long political turmoil. All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. But before we go, just a reminder for all our viewers across India, the FIFA World Cup kicks off today. The co-host Mexico will take on South Africa in the opening match. You can catch all the action live on Unite 8 Sports and stream it digitally on Z5. So get ready, because Pura India watchega.
turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening.
The FIFA World Cup is being co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico and kicks off on June 11th. For the first time in history, the tournament expands to 48 teams playing a record 104 matches.
Get all the updates from the 2026 FIFA World Cup only on WION.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents and they reside for a while and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Vielleicht nur